Thanks everybody for coming. It's not morning anymore, but close. So I'm Jim Cunagin. I'm from Cleveland. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm here to talk about Milgram's research on human obedience to authority and how any of that is anything to us. This is the third time I've talked about this in some way, shape, or form. I'm still trying to refine it. I wanted to bring a white lab coat, a battery, and some jumper cables to see if I could get anyone to shock anyone else, but I ran out of time, so I couldn't make that happen. But things I want to cover today, the basic experiment, which a lot of people are familiar with, but I want to go into a lot of variations Milgram did. Like the general concept a lot of people have is that, oh yeah, Milgram proved that people follow orders and will hurt other people based on orders. There's more to it than that. And a lot of the variations were really interesting when I really started looking into this. And then what do these things mean as far as we're concerned? There are a lot of myths concerning authority going back a good long time, and for some reason they all seem to really emphasize that badness will happen to you if you disobey. I can't imagine why such myths would be persisting. It's like if you eat that apple and you were told not to, bad things are going to happen. If you go and give fire to those puny humans and steal it from Olympus, you will have your liver torn out every day for the rest of eternity. Don't disobey authority, bad things will happen. Too bad. So who was Stanley Milgram anyway? Why did this here? He was a social psychologist who did most of this relevant work at Yale. Caught some flack for it after the fact for a number of reasons. He was of Jewish descent, and he actually had family members who had been concentration camp survivors who had visited him at some point in his life, which probably influenced him, because around the time he was doing this research was when the Nuremberg trials or some of the fallout in the Nuremberg trials were going on. And I was just following orders excuse came out, and him being a social psychologist was like, well, how much legitimacy was there to this, line that we're saying? Were they just trying to, it's like, no, it's not my fault, but the boss told me to do it, blame him, don't, convict me. Or was that a legitimate thing that they honestly believed, whether it was, valid or not? Did they believe that they shouldn't be held accountable because they were told to do something by the boss? Weirdly enough, he was a classmate in high school of Philip Zimbardo, whose name is less well known, but the Stanford prison experiment is pretty well known. And Philip Zimbardo ran that experiment, which makes me really wonder what sort of high school these two guys went to. So, in kind of, Milgram has written 2 books and kind of wrote a lot of things just kind of about obedience to authority, and had a number of sources. Like you go through his references. Mises is mentioned. Some other guy who was an anarcho-pacifist from whose name was mentioned. And he mentions anarchy once or twice, but then never quite takes that step. He's like, well, for every bad thing that happens because of authority probably kept something bad from happening too. And not quite sure I go along with that, but he never quite crossed that line. But he referenced an author named C.P. Snow who said, more crimes against humanity have been committed in the name of obedience than disobedience. When you sort of look at the scale of crimes against humanity, there's little like that. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer maybe half a dozen people, but Hitler outshines him because people did what they told him to. Dahmer didn't have a lot of people lining up to do what he told him to. And then this is something Philip Zimbardo, the guy that did the Stanford prison experiment, wrote. That there was a continuity into adulthood of that grade school mentality, for all you homeschoolers and unschoolers, that grade school mentality of obedience to primitive rules, of doing nothing until the teacher-authority allows it, permits it, and orders it. And that's, you get 12 years of that. Can I go to the bathroom? You need to ask to go to the bathroom? It's like, and then you grow up and that's been conditioned in you. You don't even think about it anymore. But back to actual Milgram experiments. The basic experiment, he had 2 people would show up at a lab, to do a psych experiment that they read about in the paper. One of them was a plant and worked for the experimenter. So you have the experimenter, who's the guy in the white lab coat, says, I'm doing the psych experiment. You've got the one guy who's a plant who always, ended up being the learner/victim. That they had, a hat with 2 slips in it. Both of them said teacher. The guy would pick it up saying, yep, mine says learner, and the other guy would pick it up and says, yep, mine says teacher, and so they would each get their assigned roles. And then the teacher was the actual subject of the experiment. He was not a plant, he was the guy that actually answered the ad in the paper to do a psych experiment for $4.50 for gas fare. He did 19 versions of this He had over 1,000 subjects in this test. Variations of this have been done in multiple cultures all over the world. What Milgram said he really wanted to test was obedience versus morality. And this was a Milgram quote: "Of all moral principles, the one that comes closest to being universally accepted is this: one should not inflict suffering on a helpless person who is neither harmful nor threatening to oneself." It isn't quite the nap, but it's pretty close. So the basic experiment would have, the experimenter in his white lab coat sitting back here. The teacher, the actual subject, would have a machine with a row of switches on it, and he would speak through a microphone to the learner in another room where he couldn't see him. And he would read off word pairs and then say which word goes with which, and he would have a multiple choice thing. The learner would hit a button and indicate it. And whenever he got it wrong, he had 20 switches with varying levels of shock, from 15 volts to 450 volts. And every time he got a wrong answer, he was supposed to hit one and then go up to the next one, after the next one, after the next one. And so, what was being tested was, again, morality versus obedience. Like, shocking the bejesus out of somebody who has never done anything to you and is not likely to do anything to you seems pretty immoral. And I don't even argue that one too much. But would they be willing to do it? The guy who was the learner in most of these things looked a little bit like Drew Carey. He wore a fedora, so you couldn't do that test these days because the social justice warriors just shock the shit out of him for no reason. I was when there were 30 levels of shock from 15 to 450, not 20. When the subject/teacher would start to show resistance, and most of them didn't look happy. Most of them were sweating, wiping their brows, and would give like hints to the learner. It's like, is it this word, or this word? But he would still get 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 wrong anyway. That's how the experiment was set up. But if we would actually say something like, I don't want to do this anymore to the experimenter had 4 prods in order. He would say, please go on, which is a late request, okay. And if the guy tried to stop again, he would say the experiment requires you continue. And if he kept, showing more resistance, he would say it is absolutely essential that you continue. And if there's any further resistance, he said, you have no choice, you must go on. I've heard, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I've heard that every person who showed resistance until they get to that 4th prod stopped, which was the measure he was looking for. Either people were obedient or disobedient, which is a bit of a false dichotomy, but either you kept going or you said, I ain't doing this anymore. And from what I've heard, everyone getting this 4th prod stopped, which is interesting. When I heard it, it was kind of pitched as a, so people don't really follow orders. Those first 3 things, please go on. The experiment requires you to continue. It is absolutely essential to continue. Those aren't orders, but that 4th one is order. So yeah, people don't follow orders, which I think was a Pollyanna-ish interpretation of that. Those first 3, the first one's a play request, please go on. The second 2 all are requesting that you continue in the interest of some other human force, the experiment. There is some greater good. It's not just me asking you to do this. I'm really a legitimate authority figure, but I am representing, I am the priest of this greater thing. The experiment must go on. And when invoked in that sense, the people start asking, it's like, whose experiment? What happens to the experiment as it go on? The world doesn't end, but when you make it an appeal to this higher thing, people are like, oh, the experiment must go on. He's the authority. He knows more about the experiment than I do. Okay. But then when it's pitched to that fourth one, you have no choice. You must go on. One, the experiment is no longer being invoked. So the higher power is no longer being appealed to. And it's saying something that most people, I think, will be able to refute. It's all of a sudden you're given the, eating out in the cognitive dissonance. It's like you have no choice. It's like, yeah, I do. And so the wording of that one, and the fact that, if it's true, that everyone stopped at that point, if they got to that point, was interesting to me. Shock levels, started at 15 volts, went up to 450. The interesting cutoffs are number 10, which is 150 volts, which is where the learner/victim first says he wants out. Where, up until then, he goes, ow, gee, that sucked, whatever. But at number 10, he says, experimenter, that's all, get me out of here. I told you I had heart trouble, my heart's starting to bother me now. Get me out of here, please. My heart's starting to bother me now. I refuse to go on, let me go out. So number 10 was an important cutoff. And then the next, in the actually start screaming somewhere around 270 volts. But the next really important cutoff is shock number 22, which is 330 volts, where he gives an intense and prolonged agonized scream and says, let me out of here, my heart's bothering, let me out, I tell you. And then becomes more hysterical, says, let me out of here, you have no right to hold me here, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. And then does not respond any further. So he's been screaming in response to being shocked several times before this. That was number 22. Shocks number 23 through 30, if the person continues to administer the shocks. No screaming, no answers on the little keypad, nothing. So he's reading the questions, he's waiting to see what happens, and if he asks the experimenter, he's like, well, if he doesn't answer the question, what do I do? And the experimenter says, if you wait 2 minutes and he doesn't hit a button, then treat that as an incorrect answer. This is important because what has been given as the reason for this experiment is we're testing the effects of punishment on learning. So if the subject stops and critically thinks about that, it's like we're not testing that anymore. That was the reason. That was this greater good. The scientific experiment that we're doing here. We're not gathering meaningful data for any sort of scientific experiment anymore. He's not answering the questions. We're not testing. This is not affecting learning in any way that we can measure. There's no reason to go on. But it's the example I gave at Pork Fest was the Constitution protects your freedoms. It's like, oh yeah, we all taught that. But it's like, wait a minute, does it? It's like Lysander Spooner answered that question a couple hundred years ago. But we hold on to that, and or some of us do, and just keep going. Say, oh yeah. Stop and think about that critically. Is it really, protecting our freedoms? Is this really an experiment that is gathering meaningful data for science at this point? No, it wasn't. But they keep going. There were 2 other specific prods that the experimenter would give to the teacher if indicated that if the teacher said, look, this is really hurting him, or what happens, the experimenter would say, although the shock may be painful, there is no permanent tissue damage, so please go on, despite the guy complaining an extra about his heart. If the teacher mentioned the learner's objections, it's like, he says he wants to stop, then the experimenter would say, whether the learner likes it or not, you must go on until he has learned all the word pairs correctly. Please go on. Also, if the teacher expressed concern about liability or responsibility, the experimenter always said, I'm fully responsible for all this. They did a few pilot studies before really rolling with this, which involved getting no feedback from the learner. That Milgram's like, we're going to have these switches from 15 to 450 volts. They say like mild, medium, severe, dangerous shock. And like the last 2 just have like skulls and crossbones or red X's or something. It's like, that'll be enough. No one's going to do that to a human being that they've never met and have no ill will against. Everyone went all the way across the board without any resistance whatsoever. It's like, okay, we need to step it up a notch. And that's when they started having the guy start shouting, insisting he was going to go on and singing his heart drum. Some of the variations they did. So what I described was kind of this control experiment, as it were. But they have one, people in a different room with no verbal feedback, which they sort of described in a pilot experiment where no one showed any hesitation to go ahead and give the 450 volt shock 3 times. Voice feedback, which is kind of a base experiment. Proximity, they moved the guy into the same room. And all of a sudden, obedience stopped. It's like, it's much easier to drop a bomb on somebody than to shoot him in the face. And so he moved the guy in the room. It's like, oh, hi! I'm going to push this button. You're not going to like it. I'm looking at you. And then, above that, they have one, and I don't know if people didn't quite get how electricity works in the late 50s, early 60s, but they had them where the teacher actually had to hold, after shock number 10, when the guy said he wasn't going to do it anymore, he had to hold the victim's arm down so that he touched the electrodes. And most of them, the electrodes connected to the fingers, and they were strapped into a chair so he could leave. Now it's like, all right, he's still strapped into a chair, but he can take his hand off the electrode. And then it's like, when the experiment said, well, grab his hand and put it back on there. And some of them did. But obedience at that point fell to 30%. Of the 70% that were disobedient, 40% did it cut off when they first had it. It's like, grab his hand and put it on there. 40% of them said no. Cut off. So that was varying the proximity of the victim. When they varied the proximity of the authority, they got some other very interesting data. So the experimenter would say what he's supposed to do. It's like, okay, every time he's wrong, give him a shock, move up a notch every time he's wrong. And then you get a phone call. And he's like, all right, you know what you're supposed to do, I gotta go. Obedience, which when the standard case is like 2/3, 66% of people were fully obedient to the standard experiment. obedience fell like 20% at that point. When the boss is no longer there watching you, people stop doing that. In addition, and this is where you said last time that they had a longer leadership thing. When I said this support fest, they gave lower shocks. You know, sometimes the experiment would like call back, like, "Are you doing it? Oh yeah, I'm doing it." It's like even a higher shock every time. Yeah, I'm sure I am. But they weren't. You know, and they were hovering down at lower shocks. They were moving up in the chain as they're supposed to. If the experimenter came back, they went right back to where they're supposed to. You know, so it didn't have a lasting effect. They weren't disobeying. You know, they didn't break with the authority figure. They were just sneaking around behind his back. You know, and who knows how many of them had a guilty conscience about that. But the experimenter came back in the room. They went right back to where they were supposed to be. And so one of the theories, you know, he came up with all these variations to kind of answer criticisms that people had. It's like, well, maybe this is what's really going on. Maybe that's what's really going on. And so and they interviewed the people who took part in the experiment to find out, well, what did you think? You know, why did you do this? Why did you do that? They spent a good deal of time trying to normalize their experience. So people who broke off, you know, and said, I ain't doing this anymore, it was like, oh, good for you. If people who went through and did the maximum shock 3 times before the experimenter stopped them, it's like, you know what, a lot of people do that. There's nothing to worry about, but let's talk about why you did that. A lot of subjects describe something sounding like a social contract, that the teacher, the subjects relinquish their freedom to, in the pursuit of commonly held value, the advancing of scientific knowledge, this greater good that I mentioned before. The victim/learner, from the perspective of the teacher, also entered into a contract and was not free to renounce his obligations unilaterally. So he says, I went out. I'm like, well, he can't say he went out. He signed the dotted line. He agreed to be here. You can't just back out of that from their perspective. And so they changed what the learner would say. That while the teacher is in the room with the learner, and they were doing their signing for the consent for the experiment, the learner said specifically, you know, I got a heart problem, and I'll agree to do it, be in it, but only on the condition that you let me out when I say so. That's the only condition. And the experimenter was like, okay, yeah, agreed, kind of dismissively. It had very little effect. That, you know, when, you know, he would say at this point, you know, when he's getting back to shock, like, you said you would let me out. People were still like ballpark 60%, you know, so a few percentage points was probably not significant. It dropped off, but, you know, 60%, or actually, sorry, 40% were still fully obedient. So it dropped a little bit, but not a whole lot. You know, despite, you know, so these people who are delivering these shocks give more authority in their mind to the guy in the white lab coat over what happens to the learner's body than the learner himself. He said, I'm going to do this on these conditions. These conditions are met. Per our agreement, I get out, but he asked the experimenter to say, no, we still go through with it, and he goes with what the authority figure says. Of the defiant subjects, 25% of them, when they were asked, like, well, why'd you stop? Because he said so. He said before. Some other ones didn't mention that specifically, but did raise legal concerns more often than the other ones did. Milgram, I think you could drop the ball here, because I wasn't as interested when I was reading this in what the defiant subject said. You know, it's like, why'd you let him out? Because he said he wanted to let out, and he said beforehand he was only going to do this if we let him out when he said so. That's not shocking. I want to know what the obedient subject said. There sure is somewhere in the Milgram archives at Yale. But, you know, did they mention that? Did they acknowledge that? Did they have any awareness of that? One of the interesting things that I mentioned when I gave this talk at Portfest, you know, the people who believe in things like social contracts aren't often persuaded by explicit, you know, withdrawal of consent to participate in that contract. You know, it's like, I'm not part of your social contract. Oh yeah, you are. You drive on the roads. So you agree to the social contract implicitly by driving on the roads. You pay taxes. Chris Rock even pointed out, you don't pay taxes, they take taxes. You know, and it's like, that's not me participating, that's not me giving consent. So, Milgram's conclusion was that the social contract was a, quote, feeble determinant of obedient behavior, but he looked at the disobedient people, not the obedient people, so I'm not sure I agree with him on that. There was a lot of criticism that, well, this isn't obedience, this is, you know, aggression. This is people, you know, human beings are nasty, vile, evil critters, and if they are given an excuse to hurt other people, they'll take it. You know, and they had that excuse and they ran with it. Like, all right, so he came up with a variant, you know, and kind of did the exact same experiment, but instead of saying every time they're wrong, go up one, he said, you can give whatever shock you want. Anytime you want, go ahead and give it. So this is it's like, oh, I've got my, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to let out all my evil impulses on this guy over here. Woo-hoo! 2.5%, so one reactor basically out of all of them gave a maximum shock. No one gave near, most of them gave shocks that were low enough that they didn't even elicit, verbal complaints. And they had like a standardized thing. I was like, this shock, I'll say this shock, I'll say that. Most of them, the average shock level was 5.5. So he first starts saying ugh at shock number 5. So the ones that get up there are like, oh, I'm going to back off now because this guy's complaining. I don't want to hurt people because I'm not this violent, aggressive person that, people are like that. Most of us. 2.5% gave a minimum shock, and you look at the rate of sociopathy in this population. It's like, probably won't get that. More on consent. So they had the learner demand to be shocked. So usually it was the learner saying, "Let me out of here." Experimenter said, no, you must go on. But they switched it up. So the experiment is normal. They get to number 10, 150 people, where usually the learner would say, let me out. He's still groaning and saying, ow, this sucks, I don't like it. But at 150 volts, the experimenter says, you know what, he's not taking this nearly as well as most people. We gotta stop this. And the learner says, no, keep doing it. A buddy of mine did this. He went all the way. I'm gonna keep doing this no matter how bad it is. No one gave shock number 11. So the learner saying, I consent to this. As much as I'm complaining, keep doing it to me. I want it. No one did. The guy in the white lab coat says, we should stop. Okay, we're stopping. I don't care what that guy says. So again, it kind of gives a mirror, another side of the coin to what happened before, that the learner has fewer rights regarding what happens in his own body than, make decisions regarding what happens in his own body than the guy that right left does, in the eyes of the teacher/something. They switched it up so that an ordinary guy would work. So they would have 2 people come in. They had another person come in to do the experiment. They were supposed to tag team I'll read the questions, you give the shock, something like that. But the experimenter never discussed the shock levels. So again, kind of like you do whatever you want. But then the experimenter can get a phone call and leave. And the one guy says, I know what we should do. Let's go up 1 shock level every single time. And no one did it. A few people did. 20% went along with it. But most people were like, no, and would argue with the guy and say they weren't going to do it. So this guy is not the legitimate authority. This guy is not the priest of the greater good who's giving the orders. This is a regular guy like me. I'm not going to hurt somebody because a regular guy like me told me to. That's not going to happen. But so again, this was all of a sudden there's some social sanction on letting your aggression out. Go for it. No, people didn't do it. They did a variation of that then, where when the teacher would say, no, I'm not giving any more shocks, the other guy said, fine, you're not going to do it, I'll do it. And so he sat down and gave the shocks. Everyone objected. Several attempted to unplug the shock generator. At least one went and tried to strap the guy in the room next door. 5 out of 16 physically tried to stop the guy. One in particular picked him up and threw him across the room and wouldn't let him get back out of the corner. So again, not only are people not willing to participate, or actually become aggressive just because some regular guy says so, but they're not going to supply a much regular guy for somebody either. When asked, all of these people said, well, I was just doing the experiment with me. That they, projected their own, morals on the absent experimenter, saying, well, if he was here, he would have told me to do the same thing. And and didn't understand that if the experiment had been tweaked, many of them presumably would have, oh, yeah, 450 volts, you got it. They were subjected to different stimuli, and they responded to those stimuli. Another variation they have, which is an interesting one, is that, so they have the regular guy, the subject is the teacher, the plant, and then the experimenter is explaining the procedure. And the plant says, I don't know if I want to do that. And the experimenter is like, you know what, we haven't had many subjects for this. How about this? You sit down at my desk, I'll go do it to show you it's not that bad, while he, the subject, does the shocks on me. And then when you see it's not that bad because I've done it, then you'll do it. And that way I get, data on 2 people from this. this. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, if you do it, sure, fine. And so the guy in the white lab coat gets in, he gets strapped on, he gets his little electrodes on. He gets shock number 10, which is where they are, right? And if he's reading the same script that the regular people would, shock number 10 is like, all right, that's it, let me out. Everybody stops. Nobody's shocking the guy in the white lab coat. The guy in the white lab coat says stop, even though the other guy is like, no, he said he would do the whole thing. He said he would do the whole thing, and then I would do the whole thing. He was doing it. People were like, you sadistic monster. There's no way. And they went in the other room, and they're like, can I get you anything? And they're unstrapping the guy in the lab coat. He's like, he wanted me to keep shocking you. I can't believe anyone would do something like that. So this guy, again, had no authority. Not only does he have no authority, he's telling me to shock the guy. No, that's not happening. Two contradicting authorities. This is an interesting one. So when they show up, instead of having one guy in a white lab coat, they got two. And when they get to shock number 10, the guy, of course, says, that's it, let me out. One guy says, keep going. The guy says, I don't think we should keep going. Oh, they ran 20 different trials of that, 20 different people. One stopped before they even got to this agreement. One got to number 9. He's like, all right, he's moaning too much. Even though he said, let me out, I'm going to stop doing this anymore. Only one of the 20 gave one more shock when they had that disagreement. When, one guy said, yep, keep going. The other guy said, no, stop. 18 of them, it's like, I'm not doing it anymore. A lot of them tried to figure out who the big boss was. It's like they were still looking, it's like, and so it wasn't that they were going along with the, nice authority. It was that they didn't know what to do. It's like there's no longer a consistent message from the, priesthood of the higher good telling me consistently, which is why I think we see a lot of ad hoc arguments in politics. It's like, that guy, whatever. It's like, oh, well, he's not the good guy then, so you're the big boss. But yeah, if they could have figured out who the big boss was, presumably they'd have gone along with that. I think they should have spun off another way around where it's, Johnson, I outrank you. Oh, okay. I'm doing what he says. But they did. If anyone wants to give me a grant, I'm not make this happen. But,
none of us are invited.
Yeah, all of you already know. All of you are in. You can be, some of you can wear the white lab coat. So, this is kind of a spin on a couple of ones I already described. So they have the guy show up on the subject. The plant doesn't show up. They get a phone call. The plant, he was in a car crash or something. But again, they picked two guys on that. And he's like, all right, well, how about you do it? And, all right, yeah, that's fine. And so again, they've got an authority figure. They got the guy in the white lab coat getting shots now. 65% gave him maximum shock. So they wouldn't shock the white guy in the white lab coat when regular guys said to do it. But all of a sudden, they're not trying to figure out who the big boss is because all of a sudden there are social cues. Big boss doesn't get strapped in the chair. Big boss is at the desk behind me and tells me what to do. So even though he's, an authority, quote unquote, now I'm able to figure out, there's some sort of cue about which one I go along with, and they do. So having the guy in the white lab coat made no difference. It could have been a regular guy sitting there getting the shots, compared to the numbers they got. And so that's another one where I think, so what would have happened if the guy in the white lab coat getting the shots would have again said, Johnson, I outrank you, let me the heck out of here. But the guy at the switchboard all of a sudden was over. It's like, I didn't know. Group effects. This is some interesting stuff. So they would have 4 people show up. One is the regular plant who's getting the shocks, but then 3 people all say they're there to participate in this awkwardly split up, job that the one teacher used to do. So one reads the questions, one then says, yes or no, and then the actual subject is one getting the shock. After shock number 10, again, when the guy first says, I ain't doing this anymore, let me out. The first teacher, the guy reading the questions, says, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not leaving. I'll go sit in the corner. I'll answer whatever questions we need to do for your research here today. That's fine, but I ain't participating in this process anymore. This is ridiculous. You get to shock 14, which is 210 volts, and teacher number 2 says, that's it. I'm not going to shock that man against his will. Again, I'll sit over there with that guy, and you can do your experiment, but I ain't participating in it. The average shock level dropped off dramatically. Like the shock level 14 is 210 volts. The average that they gave was 240 volts. So a couple people gave 1 or 2 more shocks than that, but now they gave way more than that. Only 10% of the people, compared to 66% control, gave the 450 volts 3 times, while their 2 peers stood there or sat there looking at them. 62, so almost 2/3 of them quit with or before teacher number 2. So either after teacher number 1 quit or when teacher number 2 quit, 2/3 of them somewhere in that range were like, yeah, I'm out of here too. I'm not going to go.
So once they saw someone else,
exactly. Right. Yeah. Right. That facilitated them. And it's like, oh, and some of them interviewed afterwards, like, I didn't understand I could. Again, they had this idea that they kind of said about the, it's like, I can't unilaterally back out of this deal I made, so I'm just kind of stuck at it. It's like, oh wait, he got out? That's a great idea. I didn't want to do this. And I found what was really going on. Now, experiment number 18 was somewhat similar, only they had the actual subject reading the questions and saying yes or no. And then another plant was actually giving the shots. So, and all of a sudden, obedience became very, very high. Like, experiment 18 is the one that I think Peter Gabriel wrote a song about, called We Do What We're Told, which again kind of misses the point. But yeah, 3 people out of the entire pool they had broke off. One broke off at shot number 10 when the guy first says, let me out. One broke off at number 12, and one broke off at number 14, but almost everyone else did it. And when asked, it was interesting, when interviewed later, the people in the control experiment, which is the one guy doing the shots in the experiment, they said, who's responsible for this guy getting shot? This guy in the lab coat. He told me what to do. I'm just monkey at this point, just what he told me to. I don't know. When they asked these people who were reading the questions, saying yes or no, and then basically prompting the guy at that point, giving him the data he needed to do to look at the shots, that guy is. It's like they're in the hierarchy. There's the experimenter, me, and then the guy delivering the shots. But he's responsible. So people at both ends of the hierarchy are pointing at the other end of the hierarchy, saying that guy's responsible. It's like the bureaucrats in Nazi Germany were like, we're not shoving people in the furnace. That's barbaric. It's like, oh, we're paying paychecks and we're making the trains run on time to get on the people, but we're not putting people in ovens. It's like, those guys are doing it. They're pretty sick. And like Eichmann, when I went and toured, Auschwitz, it was like, this is disgusting. Get me the hell out of here so I can go sign papers and make this keep happening. That wasn't direct. Meanwhile, the people that were doing it were like, well, we're just following orders. It's like the bosses that sit in air-conditioned offices are telling us what to do, and so we're just going along with it. No one's taking responsibility for it. Which I think is interesting when you look at some people who have the political bent that makes them say we a lot. It's like, we bombed a hospital in Yemen. What the hell are you talking about? I didn't bomb anything. It's like, and I think they have this impression that when you diffuse the responsibility of everybody, we all share it, and then we're all going to do something about it. No, find the guilty bastards, and you do something. It's like and put it on them. It's like when you start diffusing the responsibility across a whole hierarchy, you facilitate bad things happening because I'm not making it happen. I'm just one little cog in this machine. It's like. And so you might not be able to stop it by getting out. It's like that first teacher in the one experiment. That's it, I'm out. Yeah, people kept shocking, but he didn't make it happen. It's like you might be able to stop it, but if you're not facilitating it happening, that's at least something. And so, and you might very well prompt somebody else to stop it. Anyone have anything to say, please? Oh, yeah.
I saw a YouTube video recently. They redid a version of the Milgram experience, similar to the last one you were talking about, where they had 2 people come in who were administering the shots, and then one person who was, getting shot. Mm-hmm. And they had this person early on just stop, just say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with this. I want to stop." And in the experiment, that caused the other person, the patsy, the person who didn't know what was going on, in almost every case to stop them because they had an example of someone who was resisting authority, someone who was being disobedient, and that gave them like an option. It gave them they saw that it was an option, and they said, "Yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is messed up." So, do you think that's part of it, that people need to see resistance to authority in order to do it themselves?
It facilitates it a great deal, and this is not the only example of that. Milgram was a student of a guy named Solomon Asch, who did conformity experiments in And so some people have heard of these. And this is on YouTube too. It's really interesting. So they have like 5 people who are all plants, who were say they're graduate students or whatever taking part in the research. And he would have like lines up on the screen. So like line A, B, and C are all different lengths, and then another line over here. And it's like which one of those 3 lines is the same one as this one? And they have all the plants unanimously give the wrong answer. And then the subject, and they're all in line, they're all saying it perfectly. It's like B, 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 and then it gets to the actual guy's subject. It's like, yeah, B, when it's clearly A or C. Not everyone did that, but a good healthy percentage of them did. If they changed one plant in that experiment to get the correct answer, all of a sudden the conformity plummeted. It's like you didn't need, it's like 5 people and only need 1 more, to say it's C. It's interesting when you watch the videos because you see him look at the other guy and get the right answer. We know. But yeah, having some, we're social critters. There's very little, denying that. And, obedience to authority is one thing, conformity seems to be another. Obedience to authority is, I'm part of this hierarchy, there's a higher, there's a lower, and I'm responsible for whatever's higher than me. Whatever's lower than me doesn't matter. But conformity is like, all right, my peers are all doing X. There's some tendency for me to do X as well, which to some degree, it's like if I got up here and started speaking some other language because I'm not conformist, no one knows what I'm saying. It's like some degree of conformity is necessary for any social interaction. And it does tend to provide some protective benefit, if used appropriately. Now, it can work the other way around too.
One thing that would be interesting is if they introduced a punishment for the teacher that backs out. Like maybe they're supposed to get paid for the experiment and they don't, or some kind of consequence for the one that backs out, because that's the real situation that we face in society today. If you disobey, then you become caged or fined or something like that, and then people will see that as an example of what happens to someone who disobeys. They'll obey, prevent that from happening.
Right, and that was kind of brought up. A lot of people drew parallels from this research for obvious reasons. So it happened in Nazi Germany, which was kind of tested, scientific testing, exactly what happened there. But he kind of made the point that everything he was testing was like pure psychological obedience. All the power the authority figure had in his experiments existed only in the mind of the subject. That the experimenter couldn't hurt him, couldn't withdraw the $4.50, $4.50 that he was getting paid. It's like there was no real negative consequences other than what was going on in the subject's mind in this case, and it was still, and the level of obedience was still frighteningly high. It's like I can only imagine what would happen if that first guy's like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's like an experimenter called in, a couple of guys with guns and badges, like take him out and shoot him behind that kind of bullshit. And he's like, oh. How much money shotgun? Okay, I'll go to $4.50 right now. No problem. But yeah, this is an abstract laboratory experiment. This is not what we face in real life. You go mouthing off to the wrong person at the wrong time here and now, you'll maybe be on the news. You want to come up and Mike?
Okay, how much do you think is basically cultural conditioning, and how much do you think is innate when it comes to authority? Or deference to authority, or even obedience to authority. Like, it's kind of hard to judge, the kind of the variables that being in this culture that we have, like 15,000 hours of obedience schooling and everything else that people go through, and then they do these experiments, and they're not really accounting for the selection bias that introduces into them, because everybody in the whole pool that they can find for the experiment has gone through these experiences and has been conditioned to behave this way. But no denying that there are hooks, that there are motivations that they can get hooks into that are innate, but how much is innate versus how much is conditioned, and you know what I mean?
Right. And I don't know that there's good data on that. I know that, variations of the experiments have been done in multiple countries all over. And usually when I read that, it just mentions it as in, and the results were, valid and consistent. There's never been any that I've seen. It's like, oh yeah, And then Norway was a complete outlier. No one said yes. You know, like I've never seen that. It's usually in the ballpark, is my understanding. Some of Milgram did some conformity experiments too, and some of those showed some cultural variabilities. Like, and I think it was actually Norway versus France. Like Norway showed a much greater tendency to be conformist than France did, for example. That's the only hard example I'm aware of off the top of my head. But yeah, I'm not aware of any of the obedient ones showing any great cultural differences. Like one of the guys Milgram had who said no very early on was, you know, from post-World War II Germany. Like, I know what happened. Screw this. I'm not playing along with this. You know, and so there was some awareness immediately after the fact. But
It seems like they would have to bring people who are outside of the state of society to even do that experiment. Like maybe like the sea people who live out on the ocean.
yeah, I don't know if they're gonna, you know, go round up some Aborigines.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because we are by no means, you know, outside the norm of having as long of a state indoctrination period in our childhood here.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the anthropological evidence of stateless people says that there was a lot less hierarchy and almost like an egalitarian level. I mean, you could argue it was because they all lacked technology and they could only attain so much stuff because of that.
Right.
That's why they were egalitarian. But there wasn't the same type of vertical hierarchy that you see. It was
Right.
more of a spontaneous order that we're always talking about.
Jim, I learned about this experiment, I think a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that it's suppressed? It's not put in textbooks?
I was a psych major in college, so I'm sure that colors my, you know, perception of it. Because I had, until I bought one of Milgram's books, started reading it, I had what I kind of refer to as the psychology of freshman students' awareness of it, which is kind of a vague awareness of the base experiment, where 65% of people went along with it, and kind of, you know, yeah, we follow the order sort of thing, and didn't know anything about the variations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sort of going to sound like a conspiracy theorist if I said, you know, yes. I know there are some people who poo-poo it and still say that, you know, this is all, it's testing, you know, they kind of have a Hobbesian view of it. It's like people are bad, you know, and if you've got that view of humanity, then yeah, this kind of flies in the face of everything you believe, and the cognitive dissonance kicks in, and it's like, no, forget that. There's not a whole lot of, there were a lot of ethical things, objections to this, mostly, interesting enough, the discomfort that the subjects went through. That they, you know, were videoed, and they did not look at it. You know, they're sweating, they're, you know, really miserable. Like, you know, they are, you know, aware, they are guilty. You know, they, you know, and they were doing something they really would have rather not, be doing, but they didn't know how to get out. Which is kind of why the, you know, first teacher saying, "That's it, I'm out." It's like, oh, that's how I get out. It's just that easy. You know, it's so I don't know about it being suppressed, but it's interesting that you hadn't heard about it, because I was kind of aware of it being kind of part of the cultural background, but I may have exaggerated that in my own life. So.
Did they follow up at a later date with any of the teachers?
Yeah, they were mailing them stuff like months after the fact to get some feedback from them. And mostly they were getting stuff that's like, yeah, I think this is a valuable experiment, and I'm glad that I did it. And was it something you were looking to get in particular, or just interested if they were catching up?
Well, I just wonder what they learned.
Oh. Yeah, that I don't have. I mean, some of them kind of did this retroactive painting themselves in a nicer picture thing. It's like, oh, I knew it was fake all the whole time. It's like, you didn't say that when we interviewed at the time. That's, you know, and some people did, you know, like when they interviewed them, it's like, yeah, I thought something was fishy about this whole thing, you know, but, you know, the indications were that most people bought it.
I had another follow-up question about the version of the experiment that I mentioned earlier, where they had the one person drop out. They called them the hero character, the person who was willing to drop out first, and then that gave the other people the excuse to follow. What do you think the implications are for that globally, as far as like anarchists providing an example of how the state could, you know, in the giant Milgram experiment that is the state of society?
Right.
Do you think that we're maybe providing an example for for how it could be done without the cruelty of the state?
That's a very broad. It's like it'd be easy to answer that in particulars. Like what examples?
Just say yes.
Oh, absolutely. That was that's the title of the presentation you just said there. Yeah. Wait a minute, I'm not doing what you tell me.
Yeah, I think it would be phenomenal if we could establish an anarchist society in some tiny place somewhere.
Right here.
And have
We're doing it right now.
run in a nice,
Just peacefully
yeah,
withdraw.
peaceful way.
Yeah.
I think that would be like a beacon of knowledge to people around the world to finally see something like this.
I kind of see the Amish as a little bit of an example of that. Not precisely, but it's like, all right, we're mostly doing our own thing here. Oh yeah, and we'll sell you some stuff. And when we got to, we'll pay taxes on that stuff, but mostly we're taking care of ourselves. Actually, how much time do we have anyway? Oh, go ahead. That means something.
There's 6 minutes, but we might run over a couple.
Milgram was talking about something. Self-sufficiency. But this was a direct quote of his. That an individual's relative self-sufficiency frees him from total dependence on larger social systems. He has the capacity both to merge into subsystems through the assumption of roles, or to separate himself from them. This capacity of dual functioning confers on the species maximum adaptive advantages. Again, he was a social psychologist. He has a broad species social perspective that I don't tend to share. But yeah, I mean, which, there's always that straw man that's sort of against, people who are liberty-minded. It's like a picture of the guy with a, garden hose into his house. Libertarian firefighter. It's like, yeah, no libertarian anarchist that I know has ever opposed to voluntary cooperation. It's like, and it's not voluntary. If you can't say, that's it, I don't like what you're doing, I'm taking my ball and going home, then it's not voluntary. And so there are consequences to that, but the more self-sufficient you are, the fewer the consequences are to yourself. That it's like, I don't like how you're doing this. It's like, imagine, the battered woman who has no job, has no skills, or is kept at home 24/7, has no car, driver's license, whatever. She can't back out of that relationship all that easy. Versus somebody who's like got their own job, got their own, car, driver's license, bank accounts, whatever, and then the relationship starts going sour. I can get out of there. Screw him. I don't need to stay in this relationship. It's interesting to me how often self-sufficiency is kind of demonized by people who don't share our mindset. And it's like, that it's set up as something that can be punished. It's like, oh, if we find out you're, prepping and hoarding stuff, and there's something bad, we're, Obama signed and said we can come and take your stuff to distribute it to everybody else. It's like, why would that one be, why are we punishing that? Well, we aren't. Some people are going to. It's like, the dependency is a great thing for the guy in charge. It's like, fewer people are going to, rebel against me if they need me.
I was wondering, has anyone since then done any investigation into the personality traits of the individuals who were involved in the study or any other study like it to kind of predict what personality trait makes a person who's going to stand up and stop?
It depends on what you mean by personality traits. There were some demographic features that had some predictive value, not by leaps and bounds. Protestants were slightly more disobedient than Catholics, which were the only two religious groups that he measured. So I don't know what atheists or anything else would have come up with.
Well, I was kind of thinking of the personality traits that, I've seen a lot
like
of
Myers-Briggs type stuff, or
a lot of people here they're independent,
right?
you might say, and it seems like people who value their freedom are the people who are going to stop and say, no. Is there any kind of personality trait that was exhibited by this that would kind of equate to that? So you can kind of predict who's the person who's going to say, no, I don't want to be a part of this whole thing.
Not that was measured in advance in those terms. Now, the people who were disobedient, most often when asked who was responsible for that person getting shocked, said, I was. It's like, they were the people that, the people that stopped. It's like, I was doing this, I was responsible. I'm not going to keep doing it. Versus people who kept shocking. It's like, who was responsible? either the boss man was or the guy who was reading the orders to him did. You know, that the people who played along, you know, attributed responsibility to someone other than themselves more often, versus the people who stopped attributed it themselves. So, which may play along with the independence you were referring to, but yeah, it wasn't ever measured in the terms you were using that I'm aware of.
What about the opposite of that? What about like, was there any studies? Were there any studies done on like sociopathy or what might push a person to actually want to control this?
Can you repeat what she's asking because she didn't get on the podcast?
So
I'm not complying.
No one's going to after this now.
Yeah, no one's going to do anything Anna says here. It's like, I'm going to drive on the left side of the road all the way home. So it was kind of a complicated question, and then Joe interrupted.
I know, it all went south.
Yeah. So what are factors that could push people into doing it? Was that? Or what
I
are?
mean, a certain. Well, the gentleman before was talking about personality traits, right? So, were there any personality traits noted that was there a percentage of people that consistently pushed, even though it was a small percentage, and what kind of personality traits did those people have?
Okay.
And their relationship to authority and.
Right, not that it was measured in that way. And again, there's some demographic things.
The demographic was more likely.
Level of education
Yeah,
is
he
kind
said
of
Catholics were more likely
predictive,
than
but lower
Protestants.
education is more likely to be obedient. Higher education was less likely to be obedient. Military is more likely to be obedient. Officers were less obedient than enlisted men. Men and women were pretty much equivalent. There was no great variation there, which people kind of predicted more or less depending on how they kind of viewed it. It's like, oh, women are more submissive, they'll probably do it more often. Oh, women are more compassionate, they'll probably do it less often, and it averaged out, or they were both wrong. I don't know, but it was ballpark the same between men and women. But as far as, and Milgram was a social psychologist, and kind of, you could kind of tell in some of the stuff he wrote that he was kind of opposed to. Everyone's always very cliquish, and the personality psychologist and the social psychologist don't, and so I don't think he was looking for that all that much. Whereas I'm like, all right, he would write, and he's like, I can put somebody in a situation and get whatever result I want. I can find the social situation, put the right pressure on somebody, and get it. Although he always had some percentage who were saying no. So it's like, all right, that's not quite the case. And I'm more of the mind that you provided a stimulus. And granted, us being social critters, social stimulus is a special kind of stimulus to us, but it's still a stimulus. And there's, it was Viktor Frankl, the guy who was in a concentration camp and then developed his own psychotherapeutic technique after that. He's like, said there's a gap between stimulus and response. And that gap's all up here. And it's like, all right, I can do what this guy says because I think he's right, or I can realize he's not right. Which was, if you talk about mindsets that people have more often than their personalities, that people would adopt what he called the agentic state. I am the agent of this guy. And thus hierarchies are born. And so I'm no longer looking to model my behavior on what I believe is right or wrong. I'm looking to model my behavior on what this guy says is right or wrong. And they kind of decouple their own morality. It's like, as any one of these people, it's like beforehand, it's like, you think shocking the Jesus out of somebody just because they answered the question wrong is right? It's like, no! Who says that? Sociopaths. But they just do it because they're fun. It's like, but who else does that? But all of a sudden, it's like, I'm not, my morality is not important. I'm the tool of this guy. Because the experiment must continue.
So this experiment took place in the 50s and 60s?
Late 50s, early 60s, yeah.
And eventually they published the results of the stuff.
Right.
And so nobody in modern times would be able to.
Yeah, you'd have to find somebody who was naive to all of this, which would be a bit of a challenge.
Try to recreate it.
Although not as much of a challenge as I thought it was, apparently.
Can we take a poll?
But isn't this type of experiment considered unethical in academia?
There were a lot of ethical concerns brought up, and they have done some variations of it some of them not too long ago. like they did some like virtual reality stuff. So there's no actual human being shocked, but they could see a picture of a VR face, who was responding to being shocked. And if I remember correctly, people were still not happy about it. That some part of our brain doesn't get imagination versus reality, and seeing a model of a human face suffering was enough to get some people to say, I don't want to do this anymore. They were role playing. People could role play and fool themselves and role play appropriately.
But this particular experiment wasn't role play.
This was not role play.
They believed that they were shocking.
Yeah, the majority of them bought it.
And most of them went up to the top level.
And in the control experiment, 66% of them gave a 450 volt shock 3 times, long after the person stopped responding whatsoever.
At level 20, they had stopped responding.
Yeah.
And
So
from 20 to 30, they were.
they had, as far as I'm concerned, they had every reason to believe the person was passed out or dead. It's like, my heart's bothering me. I screamed at several of these other shocks. I didn't all of a sudden become so tough that I could get even stronger shocks and not scream anymore. I'm not screaming for a reason. Something bad has happened to me.
But over 60% of them continue to do it.
Yep.
Can we take a little poll on how many people heard about the Milgram experiments prior to learning about anarchy and liberty and everything?
You want to repeat that for the podcast?
Okay, so how many people, had heard about the Milgram experiments before ever getting into the greater liberty anarchy scene?
So it's like
About the same
a
time.
little more than half.
But it was very basic.
Yeah,
But
basic
I-
shit.
was really
Yeah, it was like a freshman psychology class.
They didn't give me this much
Real
data,
basic.
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm aware of
I'm
it.
just curious. Yeah.
Really?
I'm just curious.
So what were the results for the audience at home?
Oh, most people here raise their hands for the audience at home. I think almost. Unless we have any questions. One thing that Milgram pointed out, he had a lot of people who said they didn't want to do it as if this somehow absolved them of guilt. Which it doesn't. It's like actions and results matter. It's like, I was doing it under protest. I don't think the guy here cares much for doing it under protest. And it actually facilitated people, and it relieved their guilt. So they were able to continue performing essentially an immoral action because their guilt had been relieved. Because they told themselves, like, I'm not, it's like, I don't want to be doing this, but he's just making me, so therefore I can continue doing this. It was very kind of self-contradictory.
What do you think of the terminology like Bardo came up with? He calls that the Lucifer effect, that the devil made me do it kind of way of thinking, and that's what he attributed to like the prison experiments. That's kind of what he called that scapegoating. Speak to that.
I think that is all within the mind of the person. Again, kind of like what I said, it's like I'm doing this under protest, I can't help myself, and then, almost paradoxically facilitate continuing to do the thing that you don't want to do. It's, I've got the Lucifer Effect. It's a book you wrote and I haven't read it yet. It's on the list. But, what I understand of the Stanford prison experiment, again, it's very much an adoption of a role. It's like that I'm stepping into this role, and in doing so, I don't know how many of these people understood actually what real prison experience was like. It's like, but they'd see movies. And so I don't even know how realistic what happened there was compared to, if you look at prisons at the time versus compared to, prison scenes in movies. It's like, because that's what they knew about the role, and so it may have been even more exaggerated, who knows. But yeah, it was all in their mind. Nothing bad made them do it. They told themselves, well, again, I'm doing this for this reason, and I'm going to impress, Professor Zimbardo. I'm going to be the best damn prison guard that I can be, and perform atrocities in that, which I would never, ever do on my own. But now, again, I'm not doing what's right or wrong. I'm doing what's right or wrong in this context, where, this has superseded normal morality. Didn't, but I told myself it did, which was good enough for me at the time, and that's what happened. So I don't write the laws; I just enforce them. That's my role. It's.
Do we have any final questions? We're gonna wrap up. Do you have any more final thoughts?
The last few points I guess I want to make is that Milgram pointed out that while there was some variation when they would modify what the victim did, bring him into the room or having him say I've got a heart condition or saying you told me to let me out. When they attacked the legitimacy of the experimenter, that got dramatic results. What they did with the learner was got a little bit of results, but when they attack the legitimacy of the experimenter, it's like guy in lab coat 1 says do it, guy in lab coat 2 says don't do it, they all stopped. It's like attacking the legitimacy. The big boss wiped out the obedience. It's like you can try and make the learner look more pathetic or bring up that he's got rights too, and it didn't make much difference. This all almost makes me think parents are onto something with their anti-hierarchy stuff, but because he mentions this more than once, hierarchies are what facilitate these things happening. Now, ANCOMs don't believe hierarchies are bad because they facilitate aggression, which is what I got out of this. So they have some other reason for that, but yeah, attack the legitimacy of the authority figure. That's what gets results. We wrap up.